Hello and welcome. This is part one of a two-part video, and we're going to be covering remote learning and live lessons. Okay, in part one we're going to be covering a number of things. So we're going to be covering setup. So what do you actually need to allow you to do remote learning? Preparation, what preparation that you'll need to take to make sure that your lesson is successful. What equipment you will need, what apps you will be using, how long will your lesson last for, what you will cover during the live lesson, what are your aims of the lesson, and how often you will do a live lesson, and live lessons versus pre-recordings. So obviously you're going to need some hardware. If you're using a PC, then obviously you're going to need a webcam. Now most webcams come with a microphone, and you can pay various different amounts of webcams and they will produce different quality results. Most webcams, the cheapest sort of ones, will probably be okay, but you might want to improve your microphone, so you might want to add a half decent microphone to it. That's up to you, but most people will just definitely go with just a webcam. If you've got a laptop, then you've got everything you need. It's built into it, so the webcam and the microphone will be built into a laptop. If you've got a Chromebook, then again everything you need is built into a Chromebook, and the added advantage of the Chromebook is that it's already logged into your school Google account, so you don't need to add accounts to it. You just log in and off you go. And if you've got an iPad, then again you've got everything you need to do a video lesson, although on an iPad it's a little bit restricted, but we'll go into using iPads a little bit later on when we look at using JamBoard. So what software will you be using? Well, that all depends on what you've been teaching the children and what software you've been using on Google with them. But for this lesson, for this live lesson, we'll be using Google Slides, we'll be using Google Docs, obviously we'll be using Google Meet because that's what we'll be using for the live lesson, and we'll be using Google Classroom because everything we need will be in Classroom, and we'll be using JamBoard. I'll introduce you to JamBoard in a little while. And you might be wondering, live lessons versus pre-recorded. Well, both have got massive advantages. You will definitely want to do a live lesson at least once or twice a week. Pre-recorded lessons are fantastic because you can quickly do a pre-recorded. It's very simple to do a pre-recorded lesson as well. You can literally do one in 5 minutes. I watched a teacher do a pre-recorded lesson showing how to do fractions, and he did it in about 5 minutes and it was ready to go. So pre-recorded lessons definitely have their place, and once you've got the link or the video for the pre-recorded lesson, which is really easy to do, then you can immediately paste it into Google Classroom and it's available for children. So let's look at some rules. You definitely need to set some ground rules for your live lessons, simply because you want to make sure that children know when the live lessons are going to be. You want to make sure children are aware how long the live lessons are going to last for, and obviously you want to make sure they're on time. It's no different from children attending school. You want children there on time. You might even want to take a register of children who have turned up for the live lesson, so as you know who's made it and who hasn't. And I would say that definitely Monday would be your first lesson of the week. If you're going to do a Monday lesson, then there's lots of things you can include in that lesson. It's almost like it's a Monday assembly, and I'll show you the lesson I've got planned for Monday in a minute. You want to make sure you welcome children, and in my live lesson I'm going to include some school news. We'll also be addressing screen time and anxiety. That was one of the big things that came back from our surveys that we did about a month ago about live learning, and we realised quite quickly some of the parents were sort of saying children and had anxiety and they were worried about the screen time. So we will be addressing that in our live lesson. We'll be looking at the week ahead, and we're looking at what work's going to be children will be doing in the forthcoming week on live lessons. We'll look at today's lesson, and we'll finish off one of the topics we've been working with children. And really, you don't want your live lesson to be more than half an hour. You might even find a problem filling half an hour, but hopefully you won't do. The big thing is be prepared. For anybody who's worked with me, you know that I am always prepared for a lesson. Even when children log in for the very first time, be absolutely prepared for that lesson or it will fail. And it is no different with live lessons. So you want to be absolutely and utterly prepared for that lesson and make sure that everything's in place. And I'll show you how to do that and make sure everything's in place for that lesson in part 2 of this video. So this will be the live lesson. This is what it will look like. I'm not going to show you or go through what I'm going to say on this live lesson. We'll do that in the next video, but that will be the first slide. We will cover some breaking news, and again, it might not look like this on the final lesson, but we'll start to cover some news. And by the way, this is all fictitious. None of this is true. It's just an example of what you can include in your live lesson. So we'll do some news, and we'll talk about stuff that's happening in the schools. You might want to invite children to email some information about what they've been doing at home and include that in your live lesson as well. It just makes everything a little bit more friendly, and it's bringing the class together and reducing that anxiety in children. We'll be looking at the week ahead. Okay, so we'll be looking at some of the lessons we'll be doing during the week, and as you can see from the all topics, this is the Google Classroom. This is our classroom set out in one of the schools I work at, so there's all their different subjects that they'll be covering. Obviously they won't be doing all that in a week, but they've done all their topics, and each topic contains a number of assignments. But one of the things we will be doing, if you look at the left hand side of the screen, we're going to be introducing a brand new project for children to be doing, which is World War II, and we'll be concentrating on the children of World War II. What you're actually looking at there is a real project I did with a school in Stockport. So I've just taken some screenshots from that and used it as an example, but we will be introducing that topic to children. That will be in part 2 of this live lesson. This is the slide that will be used to help reduce anxiety and stress. And what we want to be saying in this slide is make sure that you take some screen time, and if you feel some downtime from your screen, rest your eyes, and if you feel anxious, talk to your teacher, talk to your parents and carers. So that will be covered as well. This is the project that we'll be finishing off in the live lesson. And again, this is a project I did with another school, and it's all to do with electricity, the power to light. And this is some of the work we did with children. So we covered some very simple circuits, and we covered circuit diagrams. But one of the things that we didn't move on to, which should have been done, and this never happened because of the lockdown in March, so my work there ended, and we never eventually got onto doing Ohm's law with children. But I've created a worksheet there on Google Docs, and you've probably not seen part 1 of the videos that I've been producing, but part 1 of the video talks about how important templates are in Google Classroom and why you should be using templates. And this is one of the templates I produce for children to use, and this is a simple template covering Ohm's law. And all children have got to do is they've got a reminder there, they've got a formula reminder, and they've just got to fill the blanks in. So in the table below, they'll know 2 values. They'll either know the current, the voltage, or the resistance of the circuit, and they need to use the formulas above to work out the missing number. So it's just a little bit of maths to do with the electricity project. So how would we present that on the live lesson? So we would present that using JamBoard. JamBoard is built into G Suite for Education, and it's Google's whiteboard. And it's simple, yes, but it's very effective, and it's excellent to work at home. And I'm going to show you how to set this up in a minute and put this circuit diagram on. And in part 2 of the video, I'll show you JamBoard in action, and in a little while I'll just take a break from this presentation and I'll show you how I've set up and used a Chromebook with JamBoard, so what you write on the Chromebook will appear live on the children's screens. I'll do that in a minute. So what we want to do is set JamBoard up, but obviously at home you haven't got the benefits of your 65-inch touchscreen that's under your classroom wall. Clearly you've not put it under your arm and took it home, so you will need a device that you can write onto with a pen, and these are devices that can be used. So we can use a Chromebook, and the Chromebook's really excellent. They've come on in million leaps and bounds over the last couple of years, and the latest update of the Chromebook operating system, and particularly if you've got a Chromebook Flip, you can flip it and turn it into a tablet, grab your pen and you can write on it. If you haven't got a Chromebook, you can use any other device that's got a touch screen, even a mobile phone, but you might struggle with that one. So you can use an Amazon Fire if you want to. You can use an Android tablet, and obviously what most schools have probably got are iPads. You just need to load the apps. You don't need to load the app on a Chromebook, it's already built in. So with that, let me drop out this presentation and let's go over and run up JamBoard, and I'll show you how to set this screen out. So here we are now on Google Chrome, and we're just on google.co.uk search engine. And what we're going to do now is we're going to launch JamBoard. Now you can launch JamBoard in a couple of different ways. You can go to jamboard.google.com, but the easiest way, probably, as we do with all Google apps, is we'll use the apps launcher in the corner. And these are all the apps that are available on Google. And if we scroll down, we will see JamBoard. So we've now opened up JamBoard, and as you can see, I've got these are called jams. These individual screens are called jams, and I've got a jam which is just my interactive whiteboard that I use in class. I don't use anything like Smartboard or anything like that. Everything's online because it's available from anywhere then. And I've got a JamBoard covering Ohm's law. So if I click on this one, this will now open up. So my advice is to get your screen set up using your laptop or your PC, and then you can use your tablet to write on the board. And obviously if you're doing a live lesson, that comes over pretty quick because you can quickly do examples with children, particularly if you're doing stuff like fractions, and also the examples of doing this maths in a minute. So there we go, that's the example of the circuit diagram, and you can see on there we've got a voltage and we've got a resistance, and what we're asking children to do is work the current out, and they can use the formula bar here to work the current out. And you'll see that if you want to know I, you just cover it up, and I equals V over R. It's very simple form. It's very simple maths really. So what I'm going to show you now is how to put this together. And don't forget, you can use this for anything. It doesn't have to be this sort of thing. You can use it on any project, any subject you like, and you can have as many of these jams as you like. And the beauty is, because it's in Google Cloud, is you can share them with students, you can share them with other members of staff, and everybody can contribute. That's what Google does. It's designed to allow people to collaborate and contribute to different projects. So if I now want to add a blank screen, I just now create a new frame, and as you can see, I've now got a new frame, and I can move backwards and forwards between these frames. The first thing I want to do is I want to add the formula bar, and that's actually a screenshot. So I'll go across here and I'll add an image. Now these are actually saved on the computer at the moment, so I can just upload them from the computer, but I'm not going to do that because I've also got them saved on Google Drive. So I'm going to choose Google Drive, and there's my Google Drive. And if I now click over to recent, I can see all the recent photographs I've used, and that's the one I want to use. So click on it and click select, and that's now in. It's too big, so I'll shrink it a little bit, pop it up here in the corner. Next thing I want to do is add the circuit. Again, I just click on add an image, and there's my circuit there. I'll click on that again, click select, and again, now just pop it to one side, move that over there a bit, just pop my screen out. Okay, so this is a very simple circuit, just consists of a switch, a battery, some wires and a bulb. So what we want to do now is we want to label two of the values. So I'm going to add some text box over to here, and we're going to make this battery 5 volts. So we know the battery is 5 volts. Okay, now the bulb, the resistance of the bulb is, again, we're going to make it 10 Okay, so we've now got a voltage of 5 volts and a resistance of the bulb of 10 ohms. And from that, we can now work the current out. So this is what we're going to ask children. I'm going to put a shape in. I'm going to put an arrow in. So I want to know what the current is flowing through this circuit. Okay. So there's my arrow. And now I'm going to put some text in. I'm going to say current brackets I and a question mark. Now pick that up, and I can now drag it there. So that's the screen setup. This is what children will be working from, and this is the screen that I'm going to ask. I'm going to now demonstrate how I'm going to write on this screen during the live lesson. So I'm going to drop out of this now. I'm going to flick over to my Chromebook, click over to my video camera, and I'll show you the Chromebook in action. Now we're going to write on this screen. Don't forget that anything I write on the Chromebook will appear on the screen. The only thing that you're going to make sure is that on your Chromebook that you've logged in with the same account and you've opened up the same JamBoard, and everything then is in real time. As I write on my Chromebook or my iPad or my Android tablet, the writing on there will appear on the screen here. So you can imagine that when you get set up for a live lesson, as long as children can see this board, they can see what you're writing. Okay, so I'm going to flick over now and just drop out of this and go over to my Chromebook. I am now with a Chromebook in front of me, and I've got exactly the same JamBoard that I've just created. And I'm now going to turn the tablet, or turn the Chromebook into tablet mode. So I'm just going to flick the screen over, and I'm now in tablet mode. Got a very simple stylus here. Probably would be better if you could afford a better stylus, but I'm just going to demonstrate with this, and you can also write with your finger as well. So we're going to solve this problem. So we know the voltage and we know the resistance, and what we need to work out is current flowing through the circuit. And to do that, we can cover up the I, so it's V over R, so it's 10. So we'll type on here, let me just go and select a pen. Okay, so I equals V over R. So we know the voltage is 5, because that's there. We know the resistance is 10, that's there. And that equals 0.5 amps. So that's how you would use your Chromebook or your tablet in conjunction with JamBoard to allow you to use it as an interactive whiteboard whilst doing live lessons. So there we have it. That's the end of part 1 of this of these videos. Part 2 will appear hopefully in a couple of weeks once I get around to making it, but that will actually cover the live lesson. So we'll look at the live lesson from the teacher's point of view, and more importantly from the student's point of view, and we'll look at what the student will see, and we'll also we'll cover the lesson in much more depth, so you'll hear me talking as if I'm running a real live lesson, and we'll talk about the news, we'll talk about different things, and I'll show that from the student's point of view as well. Okay, so hope you enjoyed this. If you need any information, drop me an email, and more than happy to help. Thanks for watching. Perhaps see you next time.